Yunha, silent and defiant, standing before her master. The master, frustrated by her refusal to speak, questions whether his attempts to break her resolve bring him joy. But as a blind man, he can't watch for entertainment. He can only listen. That's why, he explains, he bought her voice. Yunha acknowledges that her voice belongs to him now, but the crowd around them hasn't earned the right to hear it. She firmly vows to remain silent, refusing to speak for anyone but him. Her silence is her last act of control. The master, unfazed, tries a new approach. He offers to dismiss the others if that's what it will take for her to entertain him. If the audience is gone, will she speak then? His suggestion carries an underlying menace, as if offering freedom with one hand and taking it away with the other. Yunha reflects on her earlier, more naive hopes. She once believed she saw something human beneath his cold, unforgiving exterior, something that connected them. Perhaps he had taken her in because he recognized something special in her. But now, those hopes seem distant. Still, she agrees to his terms. If pleasing him is what he desires, she will do her best, though her voice remains bitterly resigned. Yet she asks, "Does it matter what I want?" In a sudden, violent command, the master orders Yeong to gouge out the eyes and tear out the tongues of those around them. Yunha is shocked, but the master quickly reassures her that she has nothing to fear, at least not for now. His retribution will come later for her attempted escape. 3 months earlier, the scene shifts. There's a chaotic chase, hunters shouting as they pursue a bear-sized creature. Amidst the commotion, Manbok narrowly escapes danger, grateful to be alive. Yunha, concerned, asks if everything is okay, but reassures that she's unharmed. As the group decides to head back for the day, Yunha requests a stop at the bookshop, as she owes them a visit. She also plans to visit her mother at the Hibiscus house. As they walk, a bystander points out a beautiful face in the crowd. Yunha. The speaker is surprised to hear that Yunha is Yeong's sister, the most renowned courtesan at the Hibiscus house. The revelation causes confusion, and it becomes clear that time is running out. Yunha is expected to follow in her sister's footsteps and embrace her role as a courtesan. Heated discussion between Madam and another woman. The woman is adamant that Yunha should not be added to the register, believing her unfit for such a role. However, Madam dismisses her objections, reminding her that it isn't her decision to make. Madam has a line of men eager to be the first to claim Yunha, and she refuses to let such of sweet fruit go to waste. The woman protests, bringing up Yunha's unruly behavior, joining boys on boar hunts and getting too close to young Master Yoon. Yet Madam is unmoved, pointing out that even the young master desires Yunha. She acknowledges that she's distanced herself from her own son, Master Yoon, not wanting to burden him with the stigma of having a courtesan mother. Despite her attempts, rumors are spreading that his pursuit of Yunha reveals of lowly nature. The woman, feeling guilty for not stopping the rumors earlier, tries to placate Madam by offering to work more shifts. She's willing to do anything to keep Yunha's name off the register. Madam, however, presents her with a grim choice. Either she allows herself to be sold off as Master Cho's personal mistress, or Yunha will be added to the register. If the deal with Master Cho falls through, Yunha will be used to make up for the loss. The scene shifts to a quieter moment where Yunha receives medicinal herbs from a concerned friend who knows she's been worrying about Yeong. Yunha expresses deep gratitude, but when asked about her well-being, she brushes off the hardship of doing a man's work in a woman's body. She recalls a recent tiger hunt where a small injury enraged Yeong, who normally never raised her voice. Yunha later discovered that Yeong herself had suffered a serious wound. A drunken man had thrown a bottle at her. Despite the challenges, Yunha accepts her role, believing it pales in comparison to what Yeong endures daily. She has a plan. Once she's saved enough, she'll buy Yeong's freedom and give her a place to live. She remains hopeful, grateful for the skills she's learned, from shooting to speaking the Western tongue. As they approach a bookshop, Yunha asks her companion if they'd like to come in, but they decline, choosing to wait outside. Inside, Yunha greets the shopkeeper, repaying a debt and offering books written in the Western tongue. The shopkeeper, who is blind, thanks her and insists she doesn't need to return the books. As they converse, the shopkeeper casually mentions that young Master Yoon is waiting outside. Yoonha, caught off guard, assures him everything is fine before heading back out. But the shopkeeper has more on his mind. Though blind, he recognizes the coin pouch Yoonha carries, given to tiger hunters, and becomes intrigued. He hints at his desire to hire someone who knows the Western tongue and reveals his true intent. He wants Yoonha to bring the girl to him, to make her completely his. Yoonha witnessing something she wasn't prepared for, Yeong working despite her promise to rest until she recovered. Yeong is confronted by a drunken man, demanding she strip like the courtesan he believes her to be. In a rage, the man grabs her, but Yoonha steps in, only to be met with the man's anger. Before the situation can escalate further, Sahun arrives, putting an end to the chaos. He sternly tells the drunken man he's had too much to drink and that his behavior, especially in public, is unacceptable. Sahun orders his men to clean up the mess and escort the man home. The evening ends with Sahun apologizing to the guests and assuring them their experience at the Hibiscus will not be tainted again. Later, Yoonha speaks to Yeong, struggling with the emotional weight of what just happened. She demands answers, asking Yeong what Madam was referring to when she said Yeong had brought this upon herself. Yeong, evasive as always, tries to brush off the question, telling Yoonha not to worry. But Yoonha is no longer a child, and she refuses to be left in the dark. Yeong, feeling the burden of her younger sister's innocence, finally admits her guilt. She wishes she could be a better sister, but her past and current circumstances have trapped her in a life of pain. Yoonha reflects on Yeong's life, how she became the Hibiscus house's most beautiful and desired courtesan after losing both their parents at a young age. With no money, no skills, and only Yoonha to live for, Yeong worked tirelessly until Madam noticed her and brought her into the Hibiscus. Yoonha, feeling responsible for Yeong's suffering, vows to do whatever it takes to get her sister out of the courtesan life. She knows that older courtesans no longer bring in good business, and Yeong's situation will only worsen. Yoonha is determined to save enough money to buy her sister's freedom before winter arrives. With a sense of urgency, she searches for more work, knowing every moment is precious. Desperate, Yoonha approaches Mr. Song, pleading for any kind of job that will earn her money. Mr. Song, who understands her desperation, presents an unusual offer, an opportunity to work as a reader for a blind man who is recuperating in town. The man specifically requested someone who knows the Western tongue. Though Yoonha is skeptical at first, especially about whether the man is truly blind, she agrees to the job. Mr. Song warns her to follow strict rules: no asking questions, no sudden movements, and no speaking without permission. With those instructions in mind, Yoonha enters the blind man's quarters. Inside, she's greeted by the mysterious figure. He calls her closer, commanding her to approach. Yoonha standing in front of Lord Coo, her nerves on edge as he commands her to come closer. She hesitates, knowing that any closer, and they will be within reach of each other. Despite her reluctance, he acknowledges the inevitable. Their proximity will result in touch. Lord Coo, blind, explains that his fingertips serve as his eyes, and he needs to rely on them. He asks her to read from the book in front of her, telling her they'll discuss payment afterward, should her reading satisfy him. Confused and anxious, Yoonha begins reading aloud from The Prince by Niccolò Machiavelli, struggling to understand what this strange man wants from her. After she finishes, Lord Coo compliments her reading and asks how much she would charge for her voice. Yoonha, unsure of how to respond, boldly suggests a price of 1,000 niang, expecting him to find it too high. To her surprise, Lord Coo offers to pay her 4 times that amount, but with a condition: her voice will belong to him alone. Everything she sees and hears within the walls of his house must stay there. He instructs her to return the next morning, warning her not to be late, as he detests broken promises. Yoonha leaves the house feeling drained, as if she had just faced a tiger, yet she can't shake the strange allure Lord Coo holds over her. Her mind races with questions. Was he truly blind? Why would he pretend to be? And what does he want with her voice? Despite her confusion, the offer of fourfold payment is more than enough to buy Yeong's freedom from the Hibiscus. Later, when Yoonha returns home, Yeong questions her about her plans. Yoonha explains that Mr. Song found her a job transcribing books in the Western tongue for a relative who needs help. She lies, telling Yeong it's simple work and that it will require her to stay away from home for a while. Yeong is suspicious, but Yoonha reassures her, insisting Mr. Song wouldn't have offered it if it weren't safe. Yeong, feeling guilty for relying so heavily on her younger sister, apologizes. Yoonha brushes off her sister's guilt, promising to return whenever she can and to let Mr. Song know if Yeong ever needs her. Before she leaves, Yeong hesitates, wanting to say something about young Master Sahun but deciding against it, not wanting to cause Yoonha unnecessary worry. As Yoonha prepares to leave, Yeong thanks her and promises to inform everyone at the Hibiscus that she'll be away for work. However, unbeknownst to them, Madam has overheard their conversation. Furious and feeling betrayed, Madam vows to stop both Yoonha and Yeong from leaving the Hibiscus. She orders her men to prepare, determined to keep the two young women from escaping her control. Yoonha is caught in a horrifying moment as Madam blocks her from leaving the Hibiscus. Desperate, Yoonha begs for an explanation, but Madam is unyielding, stating that from now on, Yoonha cannot leave without her permission. She taunts Yoonha, acknowledging her transformation from a girl into a blossomed young woman. Yeong tries to intervene, pleading for Yoonha's freedom and assuring Madam that Yoonha's only intention is to go to work, not to meet young Master Sahun. However, Madam isn't convinced. She accuses Yoonha of taking advantage of her generosity and patience, pushing her to the limit. Madam reveals her twisted belief that since she provided a roof over their heads, Yoonha must now pay her debt, just as Yeong has done by serving men. Madam coldly orders her men to take Yoonha away, claiming it's now her turn to serve, just like Yeong. Yoonha protests, but the situation spirals as she realizes that unless she leaves now, she will be trapped forever. The weight of her promise to Lord Coo gnaws at her, but the fear of what awaits her at the Hibiscus takes precedence. As Yoonha contemplates the situation, Chun-hee, Yeong's best friend, warns her that Madam is serious about registering her, which would seal her fate as a courtesan. Desperate, Yoonha asks Chun-hee if she has noticed anything unusual about Madam or Yeong, hoping for some understanding of why this is happening. Chun-hee, however, is just as puzzled and informs her that Mr. Song came looking for her earlier, but now, Yoonha's priority should be to worry about what Madam plans to do. Chun-hee describes a horrific scenario. Madam will first humiliate Yoonha in front of the nobleman, then strip her dignity in front of peasants. She paints a gruesome picture of what Yoonha's future will become if she resists, being stripped and thrown to the wolves, subjected to the vile hands of men. Terrified, Yoonha is told to prepare herself, as Madam has summoned her out back. In a moment of panic, Yoonha begs for any alternative, but Chun-hee advises her to comply. Resistance, she warns, will not only lead to her being drugged, but it will also put Yeong's life at risk. The weight of this threat is crushing. Chun-hee pleads with Yoonha to give in, to bat her eyes, make the men blush, and become the elegant beauty they dream of. It's the only way, Chun-hee insists, for Yoonha to survive and for Yeong to live. As Yoonha is led out to face her fate, her mind is a swirl of fear and dread. She enters, trembling, and hears the cold voice beckoning her forward, closer. Come to me. 1 hour before the current events, a conversation takes place at the Hibiscus, revolving around a mysterious and powerful customer. There is intrigue among the staff about him. A blind man accompanied by an armed guard, someone even higher ranked than the local lords. One of the women remarks on his appearance, noting that despite his youth, he is the most striking man she has ever seen, so mesmerizing that he could easily outshine them all. When the subject of Yoonha comes up, the man insists on seeing her, despite being informed that she hasn't known a man and isn't available to anyone yet. He dismisses any offers of substitutes, clearly stating he came specifically for Yoonha and is prepared to make her his first. His tone becomes more assertive, and when Madam tries to object, his guard, Yeong, steps in to help enforce his demands. Fearing the consequences, Madame relents, handing over Yunha to the blind man and begging for mercy. Later, as Yunha is brought before him, he taunts her, teasing that perhaps she's afraid they might touch again, hinting at a deeper, physical connection. His words drip with suggestion as he speaks of the fragrance she carries tonight and implies that, given different circumstances, they could have explored more intimate touches, even their lips. Yunha is clearly unsettled, especially as the man reveals that he received troubling news. Someone may have intended to harm her, perhaps even by slicing her heels to prevent her from coming to him. Frightened, Yunha denies any such plans and hastily explains that her actions were misunderstood, swearing that she had every intention of finding him. Still, the man presses her, mentioning that someone told him she was going to be put in the register, a fate that would have sealed her as a courtesan. Desperate, Yunha denies this, pleading that she had no intention of such things. The man, in a commanding tone, reflects on the exhaustion of the situation, ordering Yeong to inspect Yunha for any signs of injury. If any cuts or bruises are found, he demands to know who inflicted them. Yeong dutifully obeys, while the man, now growing possessive, instructs Yunha to stay by his side and be his eyes. As they prepare to leave, he tells her they are going home, indicating his control over her and her future from this point forward. As Yunha obeyed, her master's voice echoed in her mind, "Stay by my side and be my eyes." The words filled her with uncertainty. He wants me to stay here? She thought, feeling an overwhelming sense of confusion and unease. She couldn't shake the sickness in her stomach, haunted by the memory of the deaths she had witnessed. Why did all those people have to die? And worse, she feared that Madame would blame her, thinking she was involved in whatever had just unfolded. Her thoughts quickly turned to Yeong. What if this gets back to her? Yunha wished she could have had just one more day at the Hibiscus to clear things up, but her master wasn't about to let her linger there any longer. Still, she resolved, I should ask him again, maybe tomorrow. For now, she needed a moment of peace. A bath would do. As she wandered through the mansion, she found herself in a bathhouse unlike anything she'd ever seen, ornate and fragrant, nothing like the simple facilities back at the Hibiscus. I shouldn't take too long, she thought, deciding a quick dip would be enough. But as she relaxed, she was suddenly filled with panic. Oh no, have I wandered into the master's bathhouse? Her heart began to race, and she felt an urgent need to escape before being discovered. Her thoughts spiraled. Is he looking at me? But how? She knew he was supposed to be blind, but the way he moved so confidently around the space made her doubt everything. Maybe he's just so familiar with the place that he doesn't need help. But doubt gnawed at her. Is he really blind? Or is he pretending? If he could see her, surely he would have said something by now. As she watched him, Yunha noticed something alarming. Why is there so much blood? He had been spotless when he left her earlier. The man was a mystery to her. He looked and spoke like a nobleman, yet lived in isolation in this grand fortress. And nothing seemed to faze him, not even being covered in blood. He smiled through it all, as if it meant nothing. Her doubts crept in again. Have I made a terrible mistake by agreeing to work here? She wasn't sure if she had landed herself in deeper trouble or if this was her best chance at survival. But if there was one thing she could guess about him, it was that he seemed to be a man of his word. As long as I don't upset him, I think he'll keep his promise to me, she hoped, trying to calm the storm of uncertainty that raged inside her. Yunha could hardly believe what she was seeing. That can't be real. Is that even normal? Her mind raced as she took in the sight before her, overwhelmed by the sheer intensity of it. The size, it's almost vicious, she thought, feeling a mix of confusion and panic. It was all too close, too intimate. Her thoughts spiraled further. What is he doing? She tried to convince herself that this couldn't be intentional, that he must be unaware of her presence. If he could see me, he would never, right? But doubt crept in, making her question everything. Is this on purpose? She wanted to move, but her body refused to cooperate, frozen with fear and uncertainty. I feel like I'm going to pass out. Yet, Even in the midst of her panic, Yunha couldn't stop thinking about the way his hand had felt on her face earlier. It was as if the man standing before her was a completely different person than the one she had encountered before. Her mind raced, trying to reconcile these conflicting impressions. In the midst of her confusion, her master's voice echoed through the room, sharp and authoritative. "The time has come," he said. He issued orders to his men, instructing them to spread a rumor. He wanted people to know about a woman dressed as a man whom he had unknowingly taken under his roof. He's setting this up on purpose, Yunha realized. He wants people to talk about me, to turn me into some kind of spectacle. Her heart sank as she listened to him talk. He seemed almost excited at the prospect, eager to see her reaction when the rumors spread and the town began buzzing with curiosity about her identity. He's planning to let me go back to town, she thought, dread creeping in. But only after ensuring that everyone would be watching her, wondering who she was. A voice interrupted her master's musings. One of his men inquired, "Is something on your mind, my lord? You seem troubled." Her master's tone shifted, becoming more serious. He spoke of a man, someone he had his men watching closely, the Grand Prince Hyun. Yunha's ears perked up. The Grand Prince had been a powerful figure, but he lost his sight to poison tea and his status as Crown Prince soon after. Now, he was here in Harry, and her master was determined to uncover the truth about him. Is he truly blind? Or has he merely lost his mind? Her master wondered aloud. There was more at stake here than Yunha had realized. If the Grand Prince planned to return to the palace or reclaim the throne, her master intended to be the first to know, and the first to act. His final words sent a chill down her spine. "This time, I will put an end to his vicious cycle, once and for all." Sahun was surprised by the news. "This is not what I was expecting to hear." Hyun, the once crown prince who had left the royal court in chaos after losing his position, was now in Harry. What is he doing here? Sahun couldn't understand the significance yet, but he knew one thing for sure. There would be guests coming and going, and eyes would be watching. He needed to be on his best behavior. His father's voice interrupted his thoughts. "I know about the girl," he said firmly. "I don't care what you two do for now, but you will not forget your house. Do you understand?" Sahun nodded, feeling the weight of his father's trust. "I trust you, Sahun, more than your brothers. Do not let me down." "But, father..." Sahun's thoughts churned as his father continued. Being a bastard won't work as an excuse anymore. His father's plans for him were clear. After this matter was resolved, he would find Sahun a wife, and Sahun was to focus on passing the civil service examination. Any ties he had been making, his father ordered him to cut them off soon. Trouble, his father warned. But Sahun couldn't agree. Calling Yunha trouble isn't fair. She would never do me wrong. His thoughts were interrupted by a voice. "Hi there, are you all right?" A stranger approached, someone unfamiliar. "I don't think I've seen you around. Are you lost? Do you need help?" Sahun didn't answer immediately, still lost in his thoughts about Yunha. He had come to speak to his mother, but she refused to see him. The stranger, friendly and sympathetic, offered to stay with him until his mother changed her mind or until he thought of another place to go. Their kindness touched him. "You appeared to me like a camellia blooming from the snow," Sahun thought, reflecting on how, in the years since they had first met, his heart had only grown fonder. His mind was consumed by thoughts of a future with Yunha, unable to imagine being with anyone else. "Yunha, my dearest," Sahun mused, "I won't dream of a future if I cannot have you in it." Meanwhile, Yunha couldn't stop thinking about the events of the previous night. Her entire body tingled at the memory, though she struggled to recall how she had even made it back to her room from the bathhouse. Now's not the time to be wondering about all that, she told herself. Her priority was to check on Yeong, to make sure she was safe. Upon finding Yeong, Yunha was immediately confronted by Madam. "I figured you'd come back for your sister," Madam said, her tone cold and unfeeling. "I was right to have my men waiting by the door." Yunha's heart raced. "Where have you taken Yeong?" she demanded, trying to stay calm. "I sent her to the wash house," Madam replied, her words sharp. "She'll be back after washing our customers' filthy garments from last night." Madam smirked, enjoying Yunha's discomfort. She seemed to have forgotten how hard things used to be, so I decided to humble her. Have her start again from the bottom. Yunha was furious, but kept her voice steady. I'll get to the point, she said. I'll have the money to buy Yeong off you soon. Just take her off the register. Is it a deal? Madam's laughter was bitter. A deal, you say? You can take her for no less than 8,000 yen. That's 5,000 to remove her name from the register, and 3,000 more for an offer I'll have to turn down. Yunha's heart sank. 8,000 yen. How can you be so unreasonable? Madam sneered. I'm only being as unreasonable as your new master was to me. If you're that serious about getting Yeong out of here, maybe you should pester him for help. Who knows? If you please him enough, he may hand over the money you need. Yunha's face burned with anger. That is not what I do for him, she shouted. He took me in as a reader because I know the Western tongue. Sure, Yunha, Madam mocked. That's how it all starts. Lure the blind man with your voice. Sooner or later, he'll be between your legs, wanting to hear more from your lips than just the Western tongue. Yunha's rage boiled over. Madam, how dare you? But before she could finish, a commanding voice cut through the tension. Mother, what is the meaning of this? It was Sahun, appearing just in time. What are you doing to Yunha's? Mother, what are you doing to Yunha's? Sahun's voice was firm, filled with concern. Sahun? Why have you come back here? His mother replied, surprised. I don't believe my presence here is the most pressing matter, is it? He retorted, stepping forward. Let me take a look. Stay still. It's okay. He turned to Yunha, who reassured him, I'm fine. Young Master Sahun, has your father told you nothing? You shouldn't be here, his mother warned. Mother, Sahun said, his tone resolute, you can keep putting up a wall between us, but nothing will change the fact that I am your son, a bastard born out of wedlock. If you'd prefer I live this young master life under father's roof, I suggest you start acting with some sense, because I will never let you take away something I treasure. Yunha. Yeong. Yunha exclaimed as she rushed to her sister. I gathered everything you might need. I even packed the red bean tiak you like, and I brought another book Mr. Song left for you. Yeong, you should be worried about yourself. Yeong insisted. Look at your hands. This is all my fault. I upset Madam, but she's taking it out on you. I'm all right, Yunha, Yeong replied softly. You shouldn't blame yourself. Madam and I just hit a rift. I'll make it up to her, and then she'll forgive me. Everything will be okay. But if something like that happens again, come find me right away. Promise. I have caused you enough trouble, young master, Yeong said, her expression sincere. Don't say that, Sahun interjected. You and Yunha are lifesavers to me. If it weren't for you, who knows what shameless path I would walk today. Yunha watched the exchange and realized the depth of their bond. I knew it. There's something going on between Yeong and young Master Sahun. I could always tell. The two of them must be in love. For as long as she could remember, they had supported each other through thick and thin, navigating life's challenges together. This connection might explain Madam's uncontrollable rage. Sahun's interference complicated matters for everyone involved. She must have realized that Sahun had feelings for Yeong, which explained the absurd price she demanded for Yeong's freedom and how she used Yunha as leverage. In that case, I'm relieved Sahun can look after Yeong while I'm gone, Yunha thought. However, she was concerned about Sahun pursuing her sister. His status could complicate things for Yeong, and she didn't want her to face that alone. But for now, I won't stand in their way. What they have is beautiful, and I refuse to mess that up. Yunha, Sahun said, breaking her thoughts. The sun is setting. We should go before it gets too dark. Let me walk you back. What? No, thank you, that's not necessary, she protested. I don't feel comfortable sending you off on your own. Please, he insisted. If you don't get up now, I'm going to start eating all your red bean tiak, he teased. How could you? She exclaimed, laughing despite the tension. First, I'll thank him for letting me go back into town for the day, then I'll read to him for as long as he wants, she planned. While I'm here, I'm going to work as much as I can. Once I get paid, I'll try convincing Madam again. I know things seem bad now, but I can always keep Yeong out of sight until Madam calms down. Yunha thought of their situation. It's akin to hunting a tiger. In a battle of strength, it's impossible to win against the giant. But it is possible to defeat them in a battle of wits. Just stay focused and make smart choices. Survival is key, come whatever may. Master. A voice interrupted her thoughts, and she turned to see someone approaching. I'd like to get closer, if you'll allow it. May I approach? 10 years ago, chaos erupted. A voice cried out.
Gah!
My lord.
Please spare me.
I don't know who told you what, but I have never, ever spoken a word with her ladyship. I swear. I'm nothing but a reader. Please, my lord, I swear on my children. I'm innocent. Daddy. Yunha shouted in desperation. Yunha, no. My lord, I beg you. Please let my daddy go. He's a good man. He tells stories and makes people happy. He would never do anything wrong. Get your hands off him. How dare you speak to him like that, you tramp? Came a harsh voice, followed by a shriek of surprise. I'll teach you a lesson. Yunha, reflecting on those days, recalled how she had not understood why her father was punished for disrespecting the nobles when all he did was read books for them. She had been too young to realize that the truth didn't matter. They needed a scapegoat, and her father fit the bill perfectly. Forgive me, father. I know you wouldn't want me to, but just this once, I must read as a reader. And once her task was completed, she vowed never to do so again. You sound bold asking to approach, yet you're breathing less than a corpse. Nervous, are you? She noted with a smirk, observing the flush of his cheeks. I thought I told you to stay out of trouble, yet you returned to me with a bruise. Yes, but I wasn't hit. I did this to myself. Did what to yourself? I slapped myself a few times to pull myself together, lest I err and dishonor your wishes.
Aha.
So you're telling me these red cheeks are a sign of respect? Even the inside of your mouth is swollen. Master? Just this once, I'm going to let it slide. Depending on how well you behave, I might even let you back in town more often. But whatever happened, don't let it occur again. Right. I shall read for you then. She began. Take then, your magnificence, this little gift in the spirit in which it is given. Take it and learn of my most earnest wish, that you attain the greatness that your qualities promise. Then, should your magnificence turn your eyes to these lower regions from your highest of peaks, you shall see how unjustly and ungenerously I suffer from a great and continuing malignity of fortune. And master? Keep reading, he urged. I'm simply trying to listen better, but that must be quite uncomfortable. If I were uncomfortable, I would get up. She couldn't help but ponder how he seemed to carry no burden at all. Despite the chaos he had caused in the Hibiscus garden, Madame acted as if nothing had happened. He clearly possessed the power to silence her, but why would he behave like this if he was noble-born? Curiosity piqued. She thought, your voice has me wondering what you look like. Sorry. I would be considered homely, master, she replied hesitantly. Is that right? But I imagine you to be the most pleasant sight, with eyes so wide and clear that they glisten under the sun. Whenever I try to picture your face, I can't help but think of my childhood. I wasn't born blind. My eyes used to work just fine. But for some reason, things kept turning into a blur until, one day, during the most important time of my life, I was no longer able to see anything. I found out later that I was poisoned. Someone despised me so much they took my eyes from me. And you remind me of so many memories from that past, and of what I loved most. My rage then led me to burn it to cinders. But this time, perhaps, I will be able to take what's mine. You remind me of so many memories from that past, and of what I loved most. My rage then led me to burn it to cinders. But this time, perhaps, I will be able to take what's mine. His words left her puzzled. What could he possibly mean? What or who did he love most? Was he referring to a woman? Yet, who in their right mind would destroy something they loved? Determined to continue reading, she pondered if he was joking, but why make such a violent joke? The story about his eyes felt too real. He must truly be blind. She couldn't imagine the pain of losing his vision to poison. What had led to such a tragedy? The more time she spent with him, the more curious she became, but she struggled with how to satisfy that curiosity without overstepping her bounds. Suddenly, a commotion interrupted her thoughts. The crown princess. Oh no, the throne does not belong to His Highness. Please come to your senses. He simply cannot be king. The heavens know his heinous crimes. If he bears the crown, there will be trouble. It never happened, Your Highness. Let not a thing get to your head. My lord. How did it go? You were right. They and the dead Hibiscus men seem affiliated. I was able to get glow powder on them. Their shoes and garb will be riddled with it by now, so it won't be difficult to follow the blue tracks.
Good.
The tracks will also let us know who the mole is and how it got into this house. It's time to go. My lord. I count a good 30 men. It looks like they used your trap to lure us straight to theirs. Perfect. My sword's been thirsty for some time. Bring me 2 of them alive. Rip the rest to shreds. Yunha couldn't help but marvel at the provisions Yeong had packed.
Wow.
Yeong packed all I could have asked for.
Yum.
I hope she's taking care of herself and eating well. What about Mr. Song's book? She wondered aloud. Yeong said she packed it in here somewhere. Oh, here it is.
Huh.
Dear Yunha, I know you're in need of some extra cash, so I figured you could put this to good use. It's an erotic novel in the Western tongue, one that nobles are itching to find on the sly. It shouldn't be too difficult for you to recite it in Korean. An erotic novel? What about it is so appealing?
No.
Don't leave me. Come here and hold me in your arms. I need you. Please. Her voice trembled with desperation. Does your cruelty know no bounds? You torture me. As he slid that wicked thing out of her, a burning moan escaped her lips, echoing across the forest. Her body ached for more, instinctively searching with her hips to be filled with him once again. His presence within her felt like a thorn she refused to remove, and the more he pulsed inside her, the more she craved his divine essence. What is this? Why would nobles want to read this? Miss? Are you inside? Yes, come in. Would you mind coming with me? I'm Gari, by the way. No last name. I was named Gari at birth, so I go by that.
I see.
It's a beautiful name. I wonder what it means. I'm Yunha from the Lee clan. I'm one of the girls helping Lord Coo around the house. He asked me to show you around. So, Yunha, shall we? May I call you Yunha? This way, please. These are the servants' rooms, and that's the kitchen. Some of us moved here with Lord Coo when he decided to stay in Harry, but most are actually locals, born and raised in this town. Where is Lord Coo? Is he out?
He is.
If I'm being honest, I don't know much about him or the work he does. You don't? I can tell you Lord Coo is a high-ranking noble with quite a bit of power, but that's about all I know. The real master I serve is the Consul General. Well, I serve his wife, to be exact. She sent me, saying the blind nobleman here could use an extra hand. From what I hear, it hasn't been too long since he lost his sight. Just like he told me. What does Lord Coo like to do during the day? He either stays in his room or, like today, leaves without a word. Sometimes he comes out here and smokes his pipe. Why are you so curious about him anyway? That's a good question because I will be serving him for a while, I suppose. Mind if I give you some advice, Yunha? Keep your interest in Lord Coo to a minimum. Otherwise, speaking ill of Lord Coo again, Gari? W me? Absolutely not. I would never. I was only telling her to be careful. Oh? It's you. You're the girl. Pardon? The name's Horam. I'm a guard. Pleased to meet you. My, look at all that delicious tiak. Mind if I try one? Maybe wait for her answer before stuffing her face, Horam. Everyone seemed so friendly. It must be a good sign that Lord Coo has such good people around him. Perhaps the more I get to know him, a gentler side of him will shine through. My lord, it's almost time. We should be heading back to the Hibiscus. My lord, it's almost time. We should be heading back to the Hibiscus. The rumor has spread far and wide, enough to get all the officials rushing here from the capital. The Minister of Defense was the first to arrive, about 2 weeks ago. I hear he found a place for his wife and kids, but also secured a private wing at the Hibiscus. Whatever for. Presumably because it has people coming and going all the time, and no one would be suspicious of large gatherings there like the one happening tonight. I meant to keep two alive, but I got a bit carried away. I'll have to settle for just one.
Ugh.
Take him for questioning. Yes, my lord. By the way, Princess Hien sent you a letter. What should I do with it? This is the second time she has written in the past 2 weeks. Burn it. And burn any others that arrive. No need to ask me every time. That reminds me, is anyone keeping an eye on the girls? Yes, my lord. She made friends with some servants. I heard she even shared her food with them. What food? She brought back Teok from her trip to town. How very much like her. Off to the Hibiscus, then. I've earned a little bit of fun. His Highness has hired a reader to reside in his house, and reads him books for now. Are we even sure he has gone completely blind? I must say, I still have my doubts. His Highness has been fussy and impossible to please since he was a boy. How is it he houses a stranger coming from who knows where to be his readers? I'm sure His Highness has heard by now that we're all here in Harry. We should pay him a visit, regardless of what we're planning. As an old member of this town, a good deal of information comes my way. From what I'm told, this new reader is a young lady. But yes, we will have to visit His Highness eventually. Before that, however, I suggest we find this reader and see if we can't get her on our side.
Oh.
That's a fantastic idea. We should look into it right away. Let us know how we can help. Remember, we must move discreetly. There are forces inside the palace that still want Grand Prince Hyun's return. We must get rid of them before it's too late. We can never let their voices reach His Highness. Things have gotten far too complicated with Madam. Unless you're trying to keep me upset with you, you will keep those legs spread and available for the taking. Do you understand? If I want to make up with her, I should do what she asks. Besides, young Master Sahun might have feelings for Yoonha. But Yoonha has no idea, so it will work itself out, won't it? Let's focus on getting through tonight, and, well, look who it is. Snort. I've been dying to see you, my pretty little Yeong. Hello, Master Cho. He reeks of alcohol. Why wander outside on such a chilly night? You should get inside. I've been looking for you whores. There isn't a single one left. Snort. What's going on? Where'd you all go? Our apologies, Master Cho. Let me get you a room with one of our finest courtesans. Please come with me. There's no need for a room. And Master Cho, be still, wench. Madam promised ages ago to make you my mistress. Snort. I'm starting to go limp waiting. Now quit fighting it. You're bound to be my whore. I know you're ready for me, Yeong. I can smell your juices flowing.
Snort. Ack.
Oh, don't worry. I won't make you wait as long as you made me. And Master, please, not here. Keep begging, Yeong. Your voice only gets me harder. I'm going to make you regret. Oops. That was close. You're lucky I missed your throat. What the? No. My hair.
Eek.
For a moment there, I thought it was my beloved you were trifling with, the woman I adore.
Wag.
It was the look of fear that fooled me. But they're nothing alike. I see now, my lord. Oh, right. I forgot about that. Now that I have my trusty cane, I can go back to being blind. The nobles always come forward in time to save themselves and to obtain favors from the one they expect to prevail. The prince is compelled to live always with the same people, but he can do well without the same nobles. He is able to make and unmake them daily, and to give or take away authority when it pleases him. This sounds terrifying the more I read on. And yet I am so intrigued. I can't stop. I wonder what this Western ruler did to the man who wrote this to him. Are you inside? His lordship is asking for you. Meet him in the bathhouse with his book. Pardon? The nobles either shape their course in such a way as binds them entirely to your fortune, or those who so bind themselves and are not rapacious ought to be honored.
Why?
Why is he making me read to him in the bathhouse? I'm still flustered from what happened that time, and Mr. Song's stupid book has filled my mind with the most obscene things. You used to never shut up. But lately, I barely hear any chatter from you. Is it because you got yourself into more trouble while I was gone?
No, Master.
And I didn't think I had been very chatty. Yes, you two are nothing alike. Pardon? Come here and wipe the water off me, will you? Yes, master. You must have had a lot to drink. I did. I was feeling frustrated. I doubt the drinking helped. It only ever hits hard. There's something about the way you smell. Unlike those filthy, greedy people. I can smell the soft and sweet scent of your skin.